evolution of CS in a product-led growth company. I'm Tom Ronen, Head of Customer Success at Monday, as he did so kindly introduced me. I'm originally from Tel Aviv, a New Yorker for the past 4 years. Big on sailing, basketball, and everything blues music. But we've come to listen to a bit more than just my own bio here. What we'll talk about today, we'll start with a quick intro about Monday.com, and then we'll dive into the actual content. We're going to review how product-led growths look like in early stage, mid stage, and later stage companies. We'll start, as mentioned, with an intro about Monday. So Monday is a work operating system. It's a tool that allows you to manage all of your work in one place, centralize all of your team's data in one location to increase transparency, instantly connect with anybody in your own business, and integrate with your favorite apps, and no technical expertise required. We've been in quite rapid growth mode for the past 6 years or so at Monday.com, crossing $282 million in revenue, and for the past 3 years or so, expanding our global footprint, anywhere from Sydney to Tel Aviv, London, and all over the US, where we now have over 250 people. Our product can be used by literally any type of customer. We're used by over 200 different industries at over 190 different countries. And on this slide, you can see some of the logos that you probably are familiar with. All right. In terms of our CS organization, let's go over our customer base to begin with to understand how we've structured our customer success organization. We've got over 110,000 paying customers with over 10 users. And we have as well around over 600 customers that are paying more than $50,000 in ARR. Our CSM team that handles these larger customers are approximately 60 CSM strong. Our compensation model is a flat compensation with a smaller end-of-year bonus. And in terms of KPIs, the CSM organization oversees platform adoption as well as retention. In terms of how it's all structured, under our customer success organization, we have two main pillars. On the right side, you can see the customer experience pillar that is basically in charge of customer support, as well as multiple customer enablement programs such as our community, our webinar program, and our knowledge base. And on the left side, our customer success pillar, which consists of our client services, which takes care of customer implementation as well as professional services. And after the implementation, the customer is being handed over either to a scale customer success manager or to a high-touch customer success manager. In terms of our CS tech stack, we use our own tool, Monday.com, to power a lot of processes, and the data that comes into Monday flows from two main sources, either Salesforce, which is our true source of record for all of our customers, or through BigBrain, which houses all of our product information. And so Monday.com is a layer that powers processes on top of these two tools. A few other notable mentions are Looker, that helps us visualize information coming from our BigBrain database, Slack for day-to-day conversations, Guru, which is our wiki, Yesware, which powers all of our email campaigns, as well as Troops, that helps automate processes from Salesforce and Monday directly into Slack, Qualtrics for customer surveys, and Zendesk, which is our customer support ticketing system. All right, enough with Monday.com. Now let's dive into the evolution of CS in a product-led growth company. What is product-led growth? Well, if you'll Google it, product-led growth is a business methodology in which user acquisition, expansion, conversion, and retention are all driven primarily by the product. And so how does it really look like? Let's take the Monday.com example. This is our PLG funnel. We start with a visitor that may find an ad on any social media, or maybe they're driving the subway and seeing a Monday.com ad that they like. They would be funneled directly into a dedicated landing page that speaks to the pain that brought them to Monday. From there, they'll start a free trial. Through a customized onboarding flow, they'll start by inputting their details, letting us know what are their different pain points to help them along the journey to adopt the product. A customized onboarding flow will start and teach the end user how to use Monday and how to get the most value out of it. And this stage we call the initial activation of that first user that uses Monday.com. From there, that first user will invite other team members, and that will lead to full team adoption, and after that to continuous value and potential expansion. So if the product does it all, why do we even need CS? Well, to put things in broad terms, CS is here to bridge product gaps. Losing a potential customer that's maybe is on a free trial or an existing customer is costly. And so you always need some sort of human assistance to help cover product gaps. These gaps will look different, and so your CS organization will look different as we go. Let's see how it actually looks like, and we'll dive into first the 3 main metrics that we must follow along our journey. The first metric is product complexity. This is not just one metric that you're going to take a look at and understand where we are. It's a combination of multiple metrics, qualitative and quantitative metrics that helps us understand our product complexity. Think NPS surveys, customer support tickets, user interviews, and such, but we must at every given time be able to assess how complex is our product in the eyes of our users. The second thing is the average contract value. How much does an average customer pay us on an annual recurring revenue basis? And the third is the total amount of customers that we have by segment. We'll take a look at these 3 metrics along our journey, from early stage to mid stage to later stage. All right, starting with early stage, and the tagline here is really to create a scalable customer success infrastructure. Before we dive into actually how CS looks at this stage, it's super important to emphasize that CS in a PLG startup at the earlier stages may not directly own customer retention and expansion. And that can be quite new to us CS leaders who come in to do CS and focus mainly on customer retention. At the beginning, since the product itself is the main driver for expansion and retention, that whole side of the business may sit within the product team. And so customer success owns something completely different. We'll take a look at how that looks for an early stage startup right now. All right, so in terms of the different metrics that we have here, you'll notice that our product complexity is rather on the lower end, so the product should be at this point in time fairly simple. And so our average contract value per customer as well is quite low. We have a lot of customers that are paying us a small amount of money, and not so many customers that are paying us high amount of ARR. I want to focus on the fact that I have basically split the amount of customer metric into 3 different buckets. We've got customers that are paying us up to 10K ARR, customers that are paying anywhere between 10 to 50, and customers that are paying us 50K and above. Now, these thresholds may look different for your company as your average contract value may differ, but the important thing is that our first bucket, the up to 10K ARR, is one that we hold true, that we will not directly intervene or have any proactive intervention with our customers until a customer crosses that threshold. It's very tempting when your product may charge at the beginning around $500 a year. When you land your first customer that's paying you $3,000, it is very tempting to reach out to that customer and treat them as an enterprise customer, while in fact, at industry benchmark levels, they're paying you very low money, and it would be wrong to start to build a human-based approach on customers that are paying you just $3,000, as exciting as it may be. So in our case, early stage, a lot of customers that are paying us below 10K and not much else. And so how does our CS organization looks like? On the left side, you'll see the main pillars. On the right side, you'll see the different team members and KPIs. And so for us, we'll start with creating our customer support operation. Customer support is the best pillar to help drive and bridge product gaps as users interact with some difficulties with your product. Customer support is a very scalable and easy to manage operation, and you'll see that in a product-led growth company, customer support does way more than just simple issue resolution. We're talking about helping your customers get to true value in a reactive sense. On top of the customer support side of things, we'll focus in on creating different self-serve programs that will help customers serve themselves. Again, a very scalable method to take customers from one point into ultimate value. I've highlighted here knowledge base, community, and a one-to-many programs. Think of multiple types of webinars that help customers self-serve, but at large scale. All of these 3 programs are ones that we've been leveraging at Monday.com since the early days, and they have scaled with us beautifully. The important thing and important tip I can give about creating these programs is to go deep as opposed to going wide. When you'll go wide and create a lot of resources for your customers to self-serve, you may miss the mark. You must create programs in which you, as a CS leader, can truly believe that a customer can take themselves from their activation into full value by leveraging just these programs. And so it's important that they will be of high quality. I've also noted here automated emails, which is a very useful tool to share with your customers how they can get help if they need to, or help bridge gaps along their customer journey. And the last and super important is the voice of the customer program. In order to continue analyzing your product complexity, you must at the early stage put in place the infrastructure to understand what your customers are telling you and what are the struggles that they interact. So consider using NPS surveys or tagging customer support tickets, doing user research interviews and so on. These are extremely important tools to establish your voice of customer program, and there's really no earlier time to do so than day one when you have a CS person on the team. In terms of the folks that we have on our team at this stage, we've got our customer experience advocate, that is basically our customer support representative, and then 1 or 2 people that help power these different programs, a community manager, a person that's in charge of our knowledge base, and so on. In terms of KPIs, note that you don't see retention on the list right here. We're talking about customer satisfaction, different customer support metrics, and each program should have its own KPI to measure its success. All right, and so we've established the baseline, the base of the pyramid of our CS organization, and that basis will be the backbone of everything that we do moving forward that's client-facing. We mentioned all these different programs, our ever-improving product for our VOC, and that the fact that the folks that are in this side of our pyramid are measured purely on customer satisfaction. Moving on to mid-stage, and here the tagline is moving from reactive to proactive. Something will happen, something will change. Perhaps you'll add additional features to your product. Perhaps your existing customers will actually grow, or you may start looking upmarket, adding a sales team and creating some sort of a more enterprise motion on top of what you already have as your PLG motion. And so if we look at our different metrics here, product complexity will grow, average contract value will grow, and the blend of your customer base will evolve as well to not only having a lot of smaller customers, but you'll perhaps have some medium or very large customers as well coming in. And from the CS side, this is when these different metrics tell us that we need to take action. So let's see, what action do we actually take? It's not so straightforward to start hiring CSMs and do customer success. We need to understand where we want to apply that proactive motion. And a few steps in order to best analyze it, I'll go through right now. So we'll start with analyzing our customer journey. Leverage surveys, look at product data, run the detailed churn analysis, and compare different customer segments to understand where your customers are struggling. This is where we'll need to apply our CSMs. You also want to take a deeper look at your existing customer base and start segmenting more than just ARR. We want to look at growth potential, their business verticals, maybe the amount of products that they purchased. This is the first time to start and take a stab at defining customer health, as well as looking into how long these customers have been with us and in which step in their life cycle they're with us. We want to align with our sales counterparts, if at this point in time we have sales folks on the team, to understand what are their priorities and what are their KPIs that they're looking at, because CS will need to plug themselves into where sales are not. And so after doing all of this analysis, we'll need to pick the initial strategy of our proactive customer success motion. On the right side, perhaps we'll see that our smaller customer base is flourishing. In terms of medium and large customer base, that's not growing so much. And this is where we want to continue and to fine-tune our self-serve programs. Maybe on top of our PLG motion, we've managed to land a small or larger amount of really big, large enterprise customers, and a more high-touch motion needs to be in play. Or maybe we're growing traction with medium-sized customers, and then we can consider adding an implementation team, or maybe looking into a pooled CSM model on top of that implementation team. And so after picking our customer success strategy, it's time to hire our first CSM. My tip to you is not to overthink the prior slide, picking your strategy. Start hiring fast. It will take time. And the role of this first CSM is going to change dozens of times before they'll actually be in a very well-defined role. So don't overthink the profile that you should hire. Try to hire for a generalist, a person that can do implementation, that can do relationship building, that can even do sales. And so how does CS at the mid-stage look for us at Monday? I've mentioned that it can look in many different forms. I'll show you what we've done at Monday. So for us, the product complexity grew, our average contract value grew, the amount of smaller customers started to absolutely explode, and we've seen also quite a large uptick in the amount of medium customers, with large customers not so much at this point. And so We started by applying CSMs where we needed them the most in our customer journey. We looked at implementation to begin with, and then more around the renewal time as well. And so we've started to hire our implementation specialist and then a pooled CSM model. Since our average contract value was more on the medium end, it made sense to have a customer success manager for something roughly to 1 in 200 customers. So the portfolios were rather large, and our CSMs post-implementation focused on ensuring renewals. We then started to look at CS tooling, and that combination of Salesforce and Monday that I spoke to at the beginning, that is when we started to create it. We started to measure customer health and define what is good, medium, and bad use of our product, as well as building our initial playbooks. And after when we got to about 5 CSMs, this is when we had our first CS Ops hire. And so we have now added our second portion to our CS pyramid, which is the proactive portion that's measured on retention. And that's for the first time. All right. Moving to the late stage, we're talking about taking our customer success organization into a more predictable CS motion. In terms of the different metrics that we're looking at, basically you're running on all cylinders at this point in time. We're seeing an influx of large customers, medium customers, smaller customers are coming in through your product-led growth motion. The product is now much more complex, and average contract value as well is rising to the sky. At this point in time, in terms of our CS organizations, we have clear roles and responsibilities across these different functions. We have now added a high-touch CSM, perhaps a renewal manager, and a professional services person on top of our implementation and scaled CSM. We're starting to look way deeper into health score analytics, as well as working on our playbook to be able to prove to our customers the return on investment with our solution. And our CS offering at this point in time should move from constant experimentation to the point where our customers can fully understand what it is that they can expect from their CSM. Okay, and voila. Our CS pyramid is now complete, taking us from self-serve, focus on customer satisfaction and issue resolution, all the way up to a low-touch motion that's for the first time taking care of retention, into more of a medium and high-touch customer success operation that's again looking at platform adoption and revenue renewal rate. Some final thoughts here. Remember, we started by building for scale. When you have a lot of customers coming in through the pipeline, you cannot start with your regular playbook of a one-to-one CSM. We leverage data to understand when to evolve, and we look at product complexity, average contract value, and customer segmentation to understand when that should happen. And we avoided duplication by having different teams take care of different KPIs and create clear roles and responsibilities along our customer success journey. And so we're leveraging that backbone of self-serve and adding on top of that customer success managers that can be proactive. Thank you. That's all for the evolution of CS in a PLG company. Yeah.